Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Corey from B-Boy Tech Report. I'm bringing you this review right now of the Korg Minilogue. That's the new Korg polyphonic synthesizer, sub $500, $499.99 to be exact. So you save 1 penny off that $500. But this is a polyphonic analog synthesizer, and if you don't know how special that is, I pity you. I'm sorry, but this synthesizer is something that a lot of people said couldn't be done and wouldn't be done, and I think Korg has just now thrown down the gauntlet to all the other companies to say it can be done and here's how. And then, but that's good for us, the beat makers and the music makers, the musicians and producers, because you don't have to spend no longer do you have to spend thousands of dollars on a new polyphonic analog synthesizer. No longer do you have to try to find a vintage synthesizer that's polyphonic analog, and then even then spend thousands of dollars and hope that it's maintained well and that you can get what you want to get out of it. So let's get into this review of the Korg Minilogue. That's the new. So what we have right here is, like I said, the Korg Minilogue. Like I said, is a little different than the typical polyphonic analog synthesizer in the fact that it's an affordable polyphonic analog synthesizer. So this is the master volume, and this is the tempo. All right, here's the octave, so you can move up and down, two in either way, right? So you can go two low plus or minus two, and then you have the slider, I think is what they're calling it, which is basically a mod wheel. So with the mod wheel, let's turn on something a little more pleasant to listen to. And I'm going to keep the volume low on the actual synth while I'm talking, and then I'll turn it back up and we can kind of play some of the demos from the sequencer. So the VCOs here, you have the VCOs, this is 1 and 2. Each VCO has an octave switch that goes from 2 feet on the high end to 4 to 8 to 16 feet, right? It has 3 waves. So you have the sawtooth, the triangle, and the square. Alright, you can see how those affect the sound and how you could start to shape the sound just with the VCOs themselves. So not only does it have that, but each VCO has a pitch, and it has wave shaper, so the shape of the wave. So if you're like in the square wave, you can use the shape to change the shape of the square, the pulse width. Alright, same thing. So the VCO 1 is just like VCO 2, has the same controls here, right? But then there's VCO 2 modulation. And this helps you to modulate the VCO, right? You got cross mod, you got the pitch EG and sync, so you could make these VCOs sync together. And then you got one of my favorite features on this thing, or on any synth really, is the ring modulator, because you can really start to take things into a whole new stratosphere when you're rocking with the ring modulator. There's another synth that I'll be reviewing soon that I talk a lot about, the cross mod, because there's so much you can do with that. And there's like a little production technique, you know, you can take this in any direction you want to take this, because you can use that cross mod. I sample everything, so while I'm playing stuff, I'll be using the cross mod, and I'll sample it while I'm, you know, tweaking the cross mod or tweaking different parameters and stuff. But that's neither here nor there. It's just this is a great feature to have on a $499 polyphonic analog synthesizer. So that's the VCO section, and then you have the mixer, so you can actually mix how much VCO, how much first voice, how much of the second voice that you want in the sound. See, let's check that out right now. So what you're seeing is I'm lowering the VCO1, and there's still plenty VCO2 in there. You can bring that up a little more for VCO1. Right? And get as much as you want. Then it goes further to give you a noise knob in the mixer. You can use the tempo to speed things up. So that's the mixer section. 3 knobs, VCO1, VCO2, and noise. And you can mix as much of those or as little of those as you want in your patch that you're designing. Next is the filter section. And I'm just going to keep this sound playing because I think it gives you a good idea, at least a little bit, of the kind of stuff that you could do here. And so while that sound is going, let's sweep this filter. It's very smooth. Alright, so that's the filter section. You have the filter cutoff, you have the resonance, and you have the envelope generator knob. Right? Then you have 4-pole or 2-pole. So this filter is obviously can be set as a 4-pole or 2-pole. You know, you can kind of, everybody has their different preferences on what they might want. Let's see what the differences are. Then you have key tracking. So for those of you that don't know what key tracking is basically this is, I think it's at half and then at full. So basically it tells you when you're playing the keys, like say for instance, if you have key tracking on, if you play the lower keys, then the filter is not as strong on the lower keys as it is when you go up the keyboard. The filter becomes a bit stronger. So that's key tracking. So let's take a look at the VCA, the envelope, and the LFO. That's this section right here. So you have the VCA, which controls the volume before the master. Alright, so you can kind of do a lot of cool things to shape the sound. So that's the VCA. Then you have the envelope generator, which also helps you shape the sound. Now, I imagine that this is going to be a lot of people's first synthesizer, like my man said on our recent podcast, beatpeople.com podcast that we just had the other day. And yeah, I do think that this is going to be a lot of people's first synthesizer. I even saw some people writing online where they said something to the effect of, I'm so sick of software synths. This sounds so much better. I'm going to get that right away. And I think that's going to be the philosophy for a lot of people because a lot of people have used only software. So this is going to be cool to see people start to experience that hands-on type of thing that you get with something like the Korg Minilogue. But at any rate, let's get back to the review, right? So you can shape the sound. You got the VCA, ADSR. You got the envelope generator, ADSR as well. And then you have the LFO. And the LFO has several different wave shapes and rate. And then it also has the intensity of the LFO that you can adjust. And you can target, you know, you got a couple destinations you can kind of send that stuff to if you wanted to modulate the pitch. Or the shape. Or the cutoff. Right? So you got all of that you can do. And moving on down here, you can see over the side here, what I basically have going on is I'm playing a patch. But I'm actually playing it from the sequencer. We'll talk about that in a sec. But what's cool here is I'm going to press play again. What most synths don't have, actually I don't know of a synth that has this. This is really dope. It is an oscilloscope. The screen acts as an oscilloscope. I mean, obviously you can change the channel. Change the channel. So you can obviously change the patch there too. But then look what you're getting. You're getting the readout of the wave. And I think that's mad important. So let's talk about these 8 buttons over here. They serve a couple of purposes. So these 8 buttons over here are actually the 8 voice modes. And they're also favorites buttons. And they also act as kind of edit buttons. So if you go into the edit mode, like so, you have program edit, sequence edit, and global edit that you can do. Once you select the global edit or whichever one of those 3 that you want to edit, you then have the parameters within that mode, within that particular edit mode, where you can hit a button and it's a different parameter for each button, right? So it just allows you a way to navigate through those different, say, global edit mode and sequence edit mode and program edit mode, right? So if you select sequence edit mode, then you get into, you know, step length. You got all those different things you can do, all clear. The other thing that you can do with these special buttons is save favorites. So let's check out how we can save favorites. If you like that, you can save that onto a button that makes it quick so that you can get to it whenever you need it. And the way you do that is you go to Shift, hold down the button, and you'll see right on the screen there that it's saved as a favorite. And if you want to get to it quickly, let's see, I can change. I'm going to save that one as number 2. I'm going to save that one as number 3. And if I want to get back to those things, I hold Shift and tap. It changes. You have these modes here. So on polyphonic, it's performing in kind of the default mode. Right? That's poly. Duo, on the other hand, is where the 4 voices will be stacked together into 2 pairs of 2 voices in unison as a 2-voice polysynth. So you get 2 voices of 2 stacked. Go to unison. Here's a special thing about this voice mode depth. That corresponds to these voice modes, right? So the voice mode depth knob changes a different thing depending on which mode you are on. So in unison mode, it takes the 4 voices and allows you to detune the different voices. So you see, detuning. All right, so. All right, let's play that one. See how it detunes? That's the mono mode. So the mono mode is all 4 voices stacked together like a mono synth with sub oscillators. Let me tell you what it says here for the depth knob for the mono synth. It's turning the knob to the right will assign voices 2 and 3 as a sub oscillator 1 octave lower, and turning the knob to the right once more will assign voice 4 as a sub oscillator 2 octaves lower. So alright, so in chord mode, let's take this to chord mode. Now that's how it sounds, one note at a time. But if you hit chord mode, you don't have to know how to play any notes. You just play one key at a time. And it plays chords. So it's playing one. Now look what happens when I used its voice mode depth in chord mode. I can change the type of chord that it's playing. Look at the display there. Right? Delay is a little different, so I'm going to turn the analog delay effect all the way down because I want you to see that the delay mode is not the same as the delay effect. What's happening is, look at the picture there. The picture there is telling you basically that it's going to take each voice and play them in succession across time depending on what you have the time divide set for. So the time divide is controlled by, but it's actually voice mode knob. So if you look at the screen there, all the different time divisions you could be set by the voice mode button. So in delay mode, I can go all the way down. Now I think that's a cool mode. I don't know if that's on other synths, but that's one of the things that I think makes this pretty special. Now, you may say, what do I need that sort of delay voice mode for if I got an analog delay right above it? It's because it gives you more options. Let's now add in the actual delay effect. A lot of great fun to be had with the delay mode. The arc is pretty self-explanatory. And then you have the side chaining, which is kind of like a duck effect. So it makes a cool effect. Whatever the initial note is going to take the backseat to whatever the new note is that you're playing. So those are the voice modes. Those are those 8 buttons right there. Pretty dope. So now we've come to the point where I want to talk about this delay. So once you turn the delay down, you have a high pass filter here that you can use to further shape your sound. Now, since we're talking about the delay, I want to also say that this is an analog delay. The design engineer, he says this is an analog delay, so I'm rolling with him. This is an analog delay. It is not a digital delay. You know, if we find out different, that's one thing. But as far as I know, this is an analog delay. And to me, that adds to the value because, you know, $4.99, there are some analog delays, albeit more in-depth analog delays, that cost as much as this entire synthesizer. I mean, that's sweet, yo. That's just sweet. life. This is one of the illest delays. You gotta love an analog delay, and that's what you're getting on board. Incredible. We'll go back really quickly. You have two VCOs, VCO2 modulation with cross mod and sync and bring, and it also has a sequencer. The sequencer is pretty dope. All 200 patches have sequencer memory and 4 motion sync knob recording to edit the steps. If you can see that there, edit 1 through 8, so forth and so on. And once you get in there, you can start to change the notes for each one, and it'll show you what the notes are. It's pretty simple. It's well done. It's lightweight. It's probably somewhere around 10 to 12 pounds. It feels, lighter than 5 pounds, honestly. So it's a nice looking machine. It's built well. It has real wood on the back. The top casing is metal. It feels like the bottom casing may be plastic. The keys are not full-size keys, but they're the same keys from the MS-20 or the MS-20 Mini and the ARP. If you really want to, you can take this and connect it to a controller and do what you need to do. I think everything is pretty solid. All the knobs are really solid. The switches are smooth and solid. I mean, you can see those there. These are kind of rubberized, so they're like metal knobs, but rubberized, so they're nice to touch, really smooth. Straight across the board, everything is dope. The only one thing that I can see that I thought would eventually become a problem is with this slider right here. If you get a little closer, that thing wiggles. It's a little wobbly. Right, see that? Just to let you know, that's the one build quality issue that I can see. Honestly, that's the only issue I can see. That may become a bit of an issue, but when you think about $4.99 for all of this synth that you get, it's probably not that big of a deal. So that's the build quality. Gets like maybe an A- just because of that thing right there. So yeah, it's well built. Patches. You get 200 patches. 100 are factory patches or presets, and the other 100 is what you can save yourself. So they're user presets, and that's the Korg Minilogue. Let's listen to it a little bit. So there you have it. That's the Korg Minilogue on B-Boy Tech Report. Besides one little thing, that slider knob, I think the thing is superb. You get all of these different perks. I mean, you got the 8 voice mode. You get 2 filters, the high pass filter, which is kind of like the hidden treasure on the analog delay. I repeat, the analog delay. It's just a treasure chest of goodies on this particular synthesizer. It sits in between something like the P6, but it's far away from the P6, even though it sounds great. The P6 is a whole nother beast in itself. Not really something you can compare, but I can say that if that's something you aspire to, your $500 will be well spent on this Minilogue. Sounds good. It's a polysynth. It's real analog. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have the Roland Boutiques. Now the Roland Boutiques are virtual analog using the ACB, analog circuit behavior technology from Roland. Now, they sound really good. Honestly, you could fool most people with the ACB, the analog circuit behavior technology that they're using to model these these vintage synths. It does sound really good, but where you have with the Minilogue is you have it sitting somewhere between the mega polysynths that are out there that cost $3,000 or $4,000 and way down the spectrum at the sub $1,000 synthesizer level with the Roland Boutiques that are $299, $399 for 4 voices of virtual analog or analog modeling. Now, if you're gonna buy one of those or buy 2 of those, I would tell you to stop, and you can get actual analog, real analog with onboard analog delay and all those other goodies, and your money would be well spent. So, at the end of the day, the Korg Minilogue is a good buy. It's probably going to be one of the best-selling synths, not only this year, but in the next few years. And I'm looking at the rest of the manufacturers like, what we going to do? Because this joint is dope. And so, I'll say, right now, the Korg Minilogue is going to be a favorite of 2016, and I'm stamping it certified dope by B-Boy Tech. Be sure you subscribe. Be sure to follow on all of the networks. Subscribe right up there or right over there, wherever it is. And be sure to check out the Beat People podcast once a month, Saturdays, the first Saturday of every month at 11 a.m. And stop by beatpeople.com to buy t-shirts and some pretty ill sound packs that I've designed. And stop by B-Boy Tech Report for your latest reviews and everything. Signing off, B-Boy Tech.